Hey, this is YC, and I'm going to talk about my website that was about comic books from back in 2014 when I was getting started with niche sites and online marketing. So, yeah, I was brand new to online marketing and was just trying stuff out. Like any idea that I could think of, I would jot it down. I was just having a crazy brainstorming session and just sort of discovering what niche sites were all about. And so one of the things that you do, I guess, when you're thinking of niche sites is you try to think about your own interests and things that appeal to you and try to merge that with profitable niches. So since I was starting, I was full of optimism and lots of ideas. And one of the ideas I came up with was a comic book site because I am a comic book fan and I'm pretty knowledgeable when it comes to comic books, at least certain comic books anyway. So I was like, that's a good idea. I'll just do a comic book site and there'll be no end to my ideas for that because I love comics and, there's a ton of comic book people out there. So it shouldn't be that hard to make a site around comic books and, have it become popular and then be able to monetize it. So this was one of the more sort of sane ideas I guess I had in that period where I wasn't going too far out beyond my knowledge base, and I was trying to think within sort of some parameters where I knew what I was talking about, and I was actually excited about the niche, and I wasn't really thinking much about the payouts. That was kind of the problem at that point in time. I was a bit removed or detached from the payout process because I hadn't really made any money at that point. And so I think I just joined the affiliate program. To clarify, I'm talking about the US affiliate program because at that point, at least I knew that US had more traffic, and that if I joined the US affiliate program, I would have access to more traffic versus where I'm from, where there's less traffic. So basically, I started the site, and then because I was on Amazon at the time, and I was sort of getting used to Amazon. This is 2014, so I was not really an Amazon user or shopper at the time, but I was, which is kind of funny because my first experiences with Amazon were basically with the affiliate program, not so much as like a shopper, because I don't think I even bought even one thing off Amazon at that point. I was just totally using it for affiliate stuff. So anyway, I was browsing on Amazon and I was doing this, I had it, thinking about comic books, and I was just like, yeah, there's so many fucking comic book things, and there's comic book movies, and there's comic book everything, and there's figures and everything. So I'm like, whoa, there's just so much stuff, and this is awesome, and some of it's really expensive. Okay, cool. So I started to kind of think, oh yeah, I could get paid more from that because the commission tiers and stuff, I was like, okay, whatever that is. But the thing about the tiers is at that point, I don't think I was really tuned into I couldn't have been very clued into the I think comics or whatever was like a crappier commission. It's not one of the higher ones, So at the time I was I can't remember exactly what comics falls under, but it's like books, and books is kind of shitty. I think I'd have to look that up again and double check, but I'm pretty sure unless it's one of those ones where some of the books are high and then some of the books are like low commission. But there is something that was. What was that one? It was games or something, some gaming niche where Amazon just like degraded it down to like 1% or something horrible when they did their commission payout juggling thing in 2 years ago. So yeah, I was looking at all the X-Men DVDs and stuff and going like, shit, there's tons of this shit. I can write about this shit all day. This gives me an excuse to just watch the X-Men DVDs and just totally immerse myself in stuff that I already liked. So I thought this could be great. Then I made this site and it was called adamantiumclaws.com. So I was like thinking of a cool name. I'm like, oh, that's such a cool name. It'll have like the claws on the front. It'll be like It'll have like some, like the Wolverine claw, like will be the logo. And so I thought that would be awesome. And, so then I made a logo, and it was kind of just like Wolverine with his like his arms crossed with the claws, looking angry. But the logo kind of sucked a little bit. It wasn't like a great logo, because I would just take like a JPEG of Wolverine and then just write the words on top of it. So it was not really well crafted, like Adobe Photoshop logo that someone designed. It was just me typing on top of a JPEG. So that might have made it look kind of cheap. And then, so then the site was just, then I had the brilliant idea of I found this like I think it was Easy Azon or something. It was some plugin that I wasn't even sure if Amazon would allow you to use it. But I think at the time I saw the plugin. I'm like, what does this plugin do? Oh, it just imports Amazon products every single day to your site. That's great. Well, I don't even have to write anything for this site. I just have like Amazon product pages on my entire site, and it'll just be a store. And then people will see that it's a store, or they'll be like, wow, this is a great store. It sells all this comic book stuff. But the stupid thing about that is that it's Amazon. It's literally Amazon stuff on your site without any difference from the Amazon product page. So it just basically, you put a keyword in, it just like sucks that stuff onto your site. And so you have like 60 new posts a day of Amazon products. So it's just basically like an e-commerce product generator thing or whatever. So that was how I used it at the time. I'm not sure if it had a better use than that or whatever, but it was just, that's how I used it. And then I'm like, oh, wow, look at this. Like my site's auto-populating. Okay, I'm going to be rich soon. Thinking that, the site somehow would just, bring people in because of just the name or whatever, just like the sort of vibe of the site. But, that's not, now that it's 5 years later, I'm like, what the fuck? Like, what the hell is that? What was I thinking at that point? So yeah, I just basically, but then I realized I'm like, I need a blog or something. So I started thinking, okay, I gotta write articles about stuff related to comic books. So like, what can I write about? So I started thinking like, okay, how many girlfriends has Wolverine had? Okay, he's got like 20 girlfriends. So I'll just write an article about that. So, that was kind of an interesting article, I guess, just to like research that kind of thing. And basically I focused on Wolverine because he was kind of the mascot of my site. So I just was sticking kind of to X-Men and sort of more specifically to Wolverine, and just kind of going crazy and like adding all this content. I did some article about the creator of Wolverine and that kind of thing. And it was just, but it was in this crappy side blog of the way the blog was sort of set up on the site. It didn't have a very good like access. The way the hierarchy of the blog was, the products were just the main thing that you ran into when you came to the site, but then the blog was sort of off to the side. And I had it weirdly positioned in like the left sidebar or something. there was some weird custom sidebar that just didn't, it was sort of, I was trying to be creative with it, but it was just kind of the pages. I also didn't understand how to do like the pages versus the posts versus the categories. I just was like piling everything onto the homepage and then giving it like, sort of not flashing animations, but basically just different colors everywhere. So I was trying to like, make the site kind of pop out and sort of look comic-y and stuff, but it just ended up looking really like gaudy and sort of hard to look at, I guess. Just tacky and not really maybe like appealing to some comic book fans. But at that point too, I hadn't really figured out analytics. Like I was saying in the other videos, I wasn't kind of in tune with how to use any of the analytics or the tracking stuff. So the site was just sort of, I might have been tracking it with WordPress analytics of whatever, some kind. But so the site was set up and I was slaving away on it, I made a Pinterest I spent a lot of time on the Pinterest, as I recall, just, uploading all sorts of X-Men. I actually had every like issue of X-Men on the Pinterest of the different series. So I had a pin board for like every different X-Man comic that there ever was. And so that took up like a million years to do that. And I don't even know if I linked them back to the site properly, but I think I maybe figured that out at that point. So I was just getting into Pinterest and Tumblr and trying to make accounts around them being like these funnels or some kind of way to get traction to the site. But yeah, so it basically was just sort of a, in a way it made sense to me, and it still kind of makes some kind of sense, but it was also like kind of a clusterfuck of not doing things exactly right. At that point, I was listening to the Lazy Ass Stoner, and he was just like, "Yo, Pinterest, just rock that shit. Just Pinterest, just take over. It's not that hard." And so when someone who's like enthusiastic but also kind of not stupid but just naive, let's say, basically tries to set up a Pinterest and just goes crazy and makes a million pin boards and maybe doesn't link things properly or have any sort of the funnel or whatever isn't set up properly. So it's more just like, hey, there's this Pinterest over here that has a ton of comic stuff. That's good. But is it really pointing people back to the site? I think there was some traffic from that Pinterest, and the Pinterest actually might even still exist. Actually, I just realized it might actually still exist. So that's kind of funny. But, cause yeah, I was really into comics, and I thought that if I focused on my passion, that it would make more sense as a niche site. But essentially that didn't really work because I guess my keyword selection was kind of terrible. And I remember one thing about that site is I just spent a long time rewriting Amazon product descriptions. So I'm like, okay, well, I have this X-Men 3 movie DVD with extras, but I can't use the Amazon content. So like, because that's not what you're supposed to do, I realized. And so I'm like, well, I'll just rewrite this stuff. So I was trying to do like, I was trying to just straight up like rewrite the copy. And so it was the same product. It was still like a product description, but with different copy that I rewrote, thinking, well, if Google is not going to give me credit for copy, like just basically straight up ripping from Amazon, which is worse than plagiarism. It's just like nothing on the site is unique except for there was maybe 10 posts that were kind of written by me, but the other 2,000 Amazon products were just straight up Amazon stuff. So I was just in my head, I was like, well, I have to rewrite this content or else it's not going to rank, I guess, because I just had no clue how things worked. So I was kind of in there with I think I maybe got a bit into Google Sheets and was trying to keep track of the posts that were on the site, but every day there'd be 60 more products. And so it was quickly becoming like a logistical nightmare, not to mention the fact that nothing that I was doing made any sense. So as far as how I would do things now. So it just got more and more overwhelming. And that site actually lasted, I do believe I axed it with the rest of them, like I've said in the other videos, but I think that was the site that I was really like, no, I don't really want to kill this site. I think I might have deleted it and then relaunched it and tried to write other content for it. I do remember having a period of like a few months where I thought I'll bring the site back and I'll do it properly this time. So I started doing keyword research into the comic book niche and stuff, and was getting into weird keywords that were more related to, I don't know, it made sense at the time, but it was stuff related to just events that happened in comics and in movies where I remember one keyword was something about Scarface, and it was like, how did Scarface die? Or who killed Scarface or something like that. And I'm like, well, it's related to movies, which is kind of related to comics. So I'll just add this article. And because I was just discovering that there was all these other weird keywords out there that were very specific and just had, that I'm like, no one's going to write about this. If I write about it, I'm going to automatically get like 5 people a day or a month or a week to come to my site, because I'll kind of be like a Wikipedia maybe for like movie and comic book information, until you realize that that's going to take you the next like 1,000 years to make a site that answers every question that every fan of every movie and every comic book ever had. So I was But usually for that kind of stuff, I'm down for it for a minute. I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. I'm going to just, yeah, that's cool. I'll look into this and I'll figure this out. And then I'm like typing away. And then at some point I'm like, wait a minute, this is insane. What the hell am I doing? So then eventually I kind of stopped doing it. And then the site basically got the axe maybe for the second time. And it just didn't come back, even though I'm like still a big comic fan and it makes a lot of sense to have a site like that. But unless you're hardcore, I think at the time I was more, I was just doing it to make money. So I wasn't able to sit and enjoy the things that the site was about. I guess I wasn't like fanboy enough. I was more just like, yeah, I want to make money. So what do I have to do here? But, and yeah, just that the amount of stuff that I was having to do was just going to take up 1,000 years just to write some of the articles that I had planned for that site. So when that site was gone, that was maybe the most site related to me that I had. But so I was a bit sad when it was gone, but after that, I think I started really getting the idea of niche sites. And so things really started to progress after that. So that site was kind of the one that I was sort of most reluctant to delete. But once I deleted that and the other ones, because of the whole HostGator inode kind of bullshit thing, I was sort of free and clear to just start other sites. And then I started getting better ideas because I wasn't bogged down with these other sites that were just, not working, also just really illogical and set up like not a very intuitive, like not a very good way for niche sites. They were just kind of these mutant like e-commerce blog things that I was basically just going crazy with, even like the plugins and stuff. I was just getting all these plugins and being like, and this, and this, and this, and turn this on and do this. And I'm just like, ha ha ha. Well, once I add enough plugins and once I do enough posts that are about enough crazy topics, then I can't help but get rich off this. So, and the sort of sad irony is that I really needed money at that time. Like I was basically impoverished at that time, just being like praying that this would work. So I just was kind of doing this one job and making money enough to get by, but also doing this on the side, like late into every single night. And that sort of led to my whole, like late night kind of thing that I do now, where I'm just working late and just sort of putting all these hours in for the job. But at that point, it wasn't really a job because it wasn't really making any money. So it was just sort of a flop, I guess. And it's sort of sad because of just, my love for comics is actually real. So the fact that it sucked and I didn't do it right is kind of sad to me. But, if I were to redo it now, I don't think it would work because, it's like I just don't think it would work because of the fact that a lot of that stuff is not, people aren't necessarily looking for reviews of I was reviewing every like X-Men figure that ever came out that was on Amazon. So I remember half the site was like X-Men figurines and this figurine and this Wolverine, and there's like 25 Wolverines. And I was like, this one is like, it's like 4.1 inches tall and it has, it's made of this kind of plastic. And this one has a pedestal and it's got, in this one, he looks angrier, and it's therefore, if you want an angrier Wolverine to put on your shelf, then you should get this one. But this one is, it's more flexible, and this one's made out of rubber, and this one's actually like 4 feet tall, and this one's actually like embossed in some kind of like metal, and this one is talks, and this one moves, and this one does this, and so yeah, you get the idea. It's when you're doing that kind of thing, it's sort of you can imagine that would take like 1,500 hours to review all those Wolverines. And the other thing is I didn't have any of them. So, I'm like looking at them going like, what does that say on his belt? I can't really tell. I was trying to, like, if you want one with like hard, durable plastic, this is definitely the Wolverine to get. So that was the beginning of like my, kind of bullshitting my way through an article phase, where I'm just looking at some product being like, what is that? I mean, am I supposed to, I have to review that? Okay, I guess if that's how these sites work, I'll just review every action figure ever made, and I won't even have any of them, but I'll still review them. And so, yeah, major bullshit kind of phase. And then eventually it ended. And then I got more into like, slightly more legit kind of research and things like that. So that is the end of my rant / story about adamantiumclaws.com. So if you have any comments, if you have a comic books niche site or anything, if you actually had success with that kind of niche, write below and say like, haha, well, or just say something nice. Say, well, mine's good. Too bad about your shitty site. But anyway, so that's the story. So good night.